All right, what is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with my good friend Jim Brown. Just here jamming, talking about life, talking about health and fitness, and getting into it, man. So, Jim, it's been a minute. I think it's been about a month since we've been able to jam on one of these. How things going, brother?
Yeah, things are good, man. Just out hustling, trying to stay alive.
Yeah, yeah,
Trying to make it happen. Yeah.
yeah,
How about you?
yeah. I know things are good, man. Just cranking like a mofo, dude. Got a lot of big plays in place. Through COVID was good for me, dude. And when I say that, I'm not talking about the um pandemic itself. I that
Right.
maybe just worded that in the worst way possible. Now I sound like the biggest asshole on the planet. But what I mean by this is just the ability to be able to kind of take a step back a little bit, reflect, identify what's important, reset goals. And then with things that I just witnessed that maybe have always existed, but I didn't have awareness of just things that whether it be from a government standpoint or a personal whatever it may be, that just allowed me to get more awareness of, okay, like there's certain areas that I wasn't leveled up in life. Now I got more clarity than ever before, and bigger goals and more action. And so it was, it was a good wake up call.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
It's been an interesting few years, man. That's for sure.
Yeah. Dude, you
Did
guys got a
you
lot of,
with our last podcast with the all the diet adjustments and workout adjustments, you incorporated any of that? Seen any changes?
yeah. I started increasing, one day a week. If I mean, I may have had, I can't remember exactly. I may have had 1 week where I did two, where I increased calorie uptake a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, okay, let me be fully honest here. One day I was like, all right, man, I just, I hadn't had a cheat day in, I don't know, 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm not going to take a full cheat day. I'm going to take like a 4-hour eating cheat window. And I ate like just anything I craved. Which really, I didn't have a lot of sweets and so forth, but I went to, a Mexican restaurant. I love Mexican food, and went to a Mexican restaurant and, had the huge, smothered burrito plate.
Yeah.
And, then came home and, just dominated the pantry of some other stuff. And I mean, I slept like a baby that night, dude. But,
Yeah.
and I felt good, and I looked, well, when I say I felt good, I mean, it was like aesthetically,
Yeah.
for the next day or two. But man, it tore up my stomach for days, dude. Like pain day, it was just, I felt hungover the next day. So I was like, all right, like that was too extreme. And that wasn't the advice that you gave me. For those that didn't listen
Yeah.
to that podcast, I was
Well,
just
you
like,
probably would have, I mean, if you would have stuck to, a little bit more simple foods, rice and, not as many sauces and stuff that you haven't eaten in a while.
yeah,
Other than that, it sounds like it worked really well. I mean, if you woke up, felt, full, didn't look watery and other than the stomach disruption, hopefully had some different pumps, for at least a few days after that, if you could work out. But
yeah. Like from that
yeah,
aspect, and again, from what the mirror looked like, dude, I felt great. It was just internally, I
yeah,
just, but then what I've done since then is, and again, I just do it, one day a week. And I try to stick with my overall core main diet, but just have,
yeah,
it'll mainly just be, 2 meals, because I try to keep it like, less than a half of a day. But just like you said, man, whether it be rice intake, what I've been doing, and it's just been, I don't know, just because it's so hot out here, and just been craving it, but I've been just mowing down more fruit, man. Just like,
yeah,
going to town
yeah.
on
That's
some
perfect.
watermelon, or,
Hmm.
so it's still staying healthy, but it's a, because normally outside of right after my workout, I mean, I'll have a little bit of Greek yogurt prior to my workout, with other stuff. But then after my workout, I'll have like a banana. And then outside of that, I'd have no carbohydrates other
Yeah,
than, I don't know, maybe there's a little bit in avocado. I don't think there's a lot, but,
not much.
that's the only other kind of thing that I eat that isn't just meat or protein shake.
Yeah,
So then, yeah, man, it's just like, again, one day a week, man, just balance some grapes, or like right now I've
good,
been
good.
craving watermelon,
Yeah,
that kind of, but yeah, making sure it's not processed, and just not shit food, and dude, it's
yeah.
been feeling great, man.
Oh, that's awesome. Good to hear, man. Good.
Yeah. So just trying to, which if it feels like it's going good. I mean, you know how it goes when you're in a deficit, dude. Like, some days you're flat and you don't look good, and it screws with you so hardcore psychologically. But for the most part, I feel good. I'm getting a little thinner, but I'll send you some pics tomorrow morning so you can give you some updates. But I don't know exactly what body fat percent I am, but I'm guessing it's sub 10 at this point.
Yeah.
Because I'm seeing like my legs are so freaking vascular, dude. Like it's just insane. And then, getting some, I mean, my abs are fully in. Not well, I got a little bit of fat maybe at the lower part of it, but starting to get, veins even up,
Yeah.
my abs and all of that, and good striations and shoulders, triceps. So I'm guessing I'm probably somewhere in that 8 and 10 range.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, for the most part,
Yeah.
feeling good, dude.
Good.
But the coolest thing about this diet, which I'm really enjoying, dude, is it's the first diet I've ever had that like I actually enjoy. The meal prep's easy. It's like every third or fourth day I gotta, I grill up a little bit of meat ahead of time, which takes me 30-40 minutes. It's not a big time commitment. But I'm enjoying the actual food that I'm eating. It's like even, I don't know, when my wife's wanting to go out and eat somewhere, I'm like, dude, I just want to go home and eat my eggs, right? Or eat my beef, like,
Yeah.
like it's so I'm enjoying it. And the mental performance has been great. I have been popping like 2 to 3 servings of Zone a day though. So maybe that's, if I wasn't doing that,
I'm in the same place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm in a deficit too, and same. Energy is very sensitive. So relying a little bit on the stimulant, a little bit more on the days where I do eat some carbohydrates, man, I feel great. Which is real typical. But I'm in the same boat you're doing now, and shirts are starting to not fill out the same they were. So I know it's working. Starting to get a little bit leaner visibly. So yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a little guy compared to you, but it's like, like I had to go get new jeans recently, and I'm, having to get like, these slim, not slim, slim fit jeans, these
No way.
Levi slim fits, and not because I'm trying to wear slim fits, but I'm just like, shit, it's like everything else is just, so baggy, and even like my like medium, like this is a medium. Well, this shirt's like, still fits. It's a fitting shirt, but like my dress shirts, even my, like I have, these ones from Express that, the cut that I like, but they're, now I've got these mediums, extreme slims. And I'm like,
no way.
I'm down to like 172 pounds, dude.
That's
but
all right, though.
The
leaner you are, the bigger you look, with your shirt
people,
off.
when I'm out and about, I mean, people are, when they're asking me, because everywhere you go, when you get into shape, everybody's asking, like, what's your diet, what's your workout, whatever. And, when our weight comes up, like everybody will guess me in, 180s, 190. And I'm like, no, dude, like I'm almost in the 160s, dude.
It's a trip how that works, man. Yeah.
So it's been good, man. But what's crazy is, there's, and I don't know if I mean, I'm sure that there's some, truth to it, but, eating clean, being at a deficit, and the change of the mental performance, but I'm fully convinced, and maybe this is just because I override it mentally and it's placebo with me, but I'm fully convinced, man, when you're eating clean and you're working out hard, the mental performance and just the overall, like you can't impact your physical performance without impacting your mental performance, and again, it's been a long time since I've went to this extreme, but I thought for sure I would be dragging mentally, because I'm also back to, 14, 15, 16, sometimes 20-hour work days. And dude, it hasn't slid at all. And then again, I mean, there's days where I'm popping, an extra serving of Zone than I normally would, but I've also had that at other times when I'm, in this type of, just grind, with it. But overall, dude, like, I mean, even at the deficit versus eating a bunch of processed foods, like eating like, the shit that people wouldn't deem unhealthy, but still, I personally do, eat a bunch of Chipotle or whatever, even though, you control the caloric aspect of it, it's still not the cleanest food, like that's where I find my mindset just to get thrown off, man.
Well, it's amazing if you're eating just real simple food, like meat you cook at home, simple carbohydrates, fruit, rice, potatoes, whatever. fat from intelligent sources, like, you know, maybe just strictly avocado. And you eat the same things or relatively the same things every day that, you know, your body processes very well, and that, you know, that you digest well, all that. It's amazing what happens, you know. Your body responds very well. And I think mentally, especially if you're not in a massive overfeeding state with those, you respond very favorably. It's amazing what happens. And it's a systemic kind of effect. You know, your body responds, your brain responds. And, you know, unfortunately, I don't think enough people get there. You know, people won't stay on a diet or a clean type of eating regimen long enough to really feel the benefits. But the longer you go and the more your body gets used to those foods, I think the better they work, and the better the effects are.
Yeah. So here I am talking about clean eating as I'm slamming a sugar-free Red Bull.
Well, you know, yeah, I'm a
You know,
stevia guy, but yeah.
uh,
Uh,
um,
but
and
the food, you know, the food has a major effect. Like when you're eating foods that you have an inflammation or a kind of an allergy to, like one of my guys um, loves Greek yogurt, but every time he eats it, you know, he gets bloaty, you see water retention, all that. And it's, dude, it's not the food for you, man. Every time you eat it, your body has a bad reaction. You get that swelling and that, you know, whether he's allergic to it, whether it's the lactose, we don't know, but can't eat it. That stop eating it, you know. And when you clean that out, it's amazing what happens. Oh man, yeah, I had my carb up day with no yogurt and I feel amazing. You know, it's like, yeah, dude, because your body, you know, and I think a lot of people just they're so used to feeling bad that they never really get that real sensitive enough to determine, hey, when I eat yogurt, I feel shitty, or when I eat eggs, I feel bad, or whatever it is. You know, when I eat shitty oil, I feel bad. They just kind of feel shitty all the time. And it's kind of a shame.
yeah, man. And I think you hit the nail on the head, dude. Because I mean, I was there. I mean, for so many
We've
years,
all been there. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I just treated my body like even as a kid, we didn't eat healthy foods. You know, it was a lot of fast food, a lot of shake and bake chicken, a lot of top ramen. You know, it
Yeah.
wasn't, you know, good quality sources of food. And then, you know, and even until, you know, I met you, it was, you know, even when I died and so forth, it was, you know, crap food. And then when I started to even get super clean with my diet, like going to clean sources, meaning very
Yeah.
strict with organic and, you know, shopping with local farmers and, you know, cutting out toxins and all of that, you know. And I don't know if this was damage I did or environment or a combination of the both. Um, um, you know, just I knew once I took that stream, I'm like, all right, like there's still something wrong. Like I should feel better than this. And but then, you know, after I met you and I, you know, just made the decision to jump on TRT and, you know, take it to the next level, dude. God, after about 2 weeks of that, and when it, you know, when it clicked in, maybe it was 3 weeks, but when it clicked in, I started feeling the effects. Man, I just remember it like it was, yeah, it was just like, oh my God. Like it was almost like, I don't know, like a high that's hard to even, but to your point of, I think so many, and I was in that bucket for really my whole life until I was 33 years old, until I met you and started some of this other, you know, optimization protocols. I can't think of a time I ever felt great in my, at least adult life, you
Yeah.
know. But you don't know what you don't know, you know. It's
Right.
just, I thought my default was okay, you know. And then when I truly felt it, then I was like, oh damn, this is what I was missing.
And I always feel better when I'm leaner, you know, mentally and physically. And my body seems to work a little bit better to a point. And then when I'm not overeating, when I'm eating, you know, either in a deficit or right at maintenance, is when I feel and operate the best, you know. You know, I had years, as you know, I had decades of fucking overfeeding and, you know, trying to get as big as I possibly could. And that took, you know, a lot of years of really overeating stuffy food. And man, I never felt great doing that. Didn't matter if the food was clean or not. Never felt good. And anytime that I'm overfeeding, doesn't matter if I'm lean, if I'm not, if, you know, whatever the scenario is, I don't feel good. And so I think a lot of people are in that kind of, you know, stuck in that circle where they literally they're consuming too many calories a day, and you know they're in that cycle of kind of feeling shitty. And I think once you get into a deficit and spend a little bit of time there, and you kind of get to what it feels like. Yeah, you're hungry sometimes, or a lot of times, or whatever, but overall I feel better, and I think that I think that's what we're supposed to be, not underfeeding a little bit, maybe at maintenance, but I don't think we're meant to be in a caloric surplus all the time. Body's just, doesn't operate well.
Yeah, man. And what's crazy too, dude, is like if we look at, like, the other day I was talking to two friends of mine that are, their husband and wife, and they're talking about like just overall diet, exercise, and they were wanting to, just asking me questions about certain things, and they're both asking like, well, what's a like a normal level of body fat? Like what's a normal healthy level of body fat? And, so forth. And I was like, okay, well, like, what's normal and healthy, or what would I define to be normal and healthy? Like, they're two totally different things. And, it's like, you go to the doctor, you can be, how I would define unhealthy, but your doctor might sit there and say, oh man, like you check all the boxes, you look, to be extreme health, and, so forth with it. But it's just like the baseline, if you will, whatever, the normal, the bar keeps getting lowered and lowered and lowered, where it's like, dude, unless you're, you can't, I shouldn't say you can't, because maybe some people have a great primary physician that, has knowledge in this and so forth. But, I mean, it almost takes getting out of, regular medicine, if you will, in the way that most people practice it with, okay, I'm going to go through my insurance, go to my primary care physician, and go the route that you and I went with concierge physicians that, are specialists in this, study this. I can't remember what doctor it was that we were talking to, but one of the doctors, and maybe multiple have mentioned this when we used to interview a lot of doctors on the show, but that was telling us that, dude, they have like less than 8 hours of actual nutrition training through all of med school. And it's crazy, man, just watching and seeing, maybe I'm wrong on this. I mean, you deal with doctors all day long, so you might have a better, grasp on this and a better opinion, but just seems like that's just deteriorating so fast. And I see it in all aspects of society, which is sad, because especially like being a dude that used to be morbidly obese, he used to be almost 280 pounds, and so forth. But just seeing it now, it's like, okay, adult obesity, one thing, but now when I see the amount of kids, like when I'm dropping my kids off at school, picking them up, like, it's like, dude, that's the norm now too. It's not just that 60%, or what is the stat now? 80% of, American adults are overweight, but it's like 60% are obese. That used to be like an adult thing, not necessarily a kid. And now I'm seeing with kids, I'm like, dude, it's sad seeing.
Now, there's some headline, like I don't know if it was CNN or something. They were trying to blame the global warming on kids being unhealthy because they can't go outside. And it's like, bullshit, man. Are you kidding me? Really? Kids sitting inside watching fucking iPad, and had a McDonald's Happy Meal on his way home from school, and it's global warming because it's too hot to go play outside. Sure. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Sell me something else. Yeah. Where can I buy my Tesla? Yeah, man, back to your point, the medical system's broken. And, even if physicians had proper nutritional training, and I don't even know what that would be, what would that be? A low carb, keto? I mean, it's so tribalized now. It's hard to find anybody with any common sense that says, hey, just eat normal macros, which look like, 40, 60, 80, whatever, and count your calories. You're going to lose fat. You're going to manage your body weight. It's really hard to even get sensible nutrition information now because everybody's so polarized, and, everybody's tribalized up in this, keto's the only way. Oh, no, that's not keto, low carb, this, whatever. So even if they did have the correct nutritional counseling or education coming through, in the normal healthcare system, you just don't have time to talk to people about that. For a normal primary care physician, they don't really make a lot of choices in how they treat you. It's literally some of them, depending on who they work for or whatever, because there's not a lot of independent contractors anymore. If you work for a healthcare system, you literally follow, a guideline from the insurance company. You check these boxes, and that's how you get reimbursed for this patient's visit, and hopefully help the patient somehow with their whatever they came in for and send them out the door. It's not anymore like the country doc where, they had this overall understanding of health and, sensible advice. Okay, come in, let's talk about it. They just don't, that's not the way the model works anymore. And that's really the benefit of some concierge practices, where you're going to pay the doctor to take that time and go, okay, hey, let's look at everything here. Gosh, you're fat. Let's work on that. Let's do this lifestyle changes. And then if those don't work, then we'll, consider pharmacological help or whatever it is. But to get an experience from a physician, typically, especially a general practitioner, where you're going to try to improve your overall health, lifestyle, and do all that without drugs, and just having somebody, this hurts, here's a pill, instead of, why does that hurt? Okay, let's kind of backtrack this, can we fix this any other way? To get that kind of care, you got to pay for it. You have to pay for it out of pocket, because insurance company just they don't reward the physician for doing that at all. In fact, they penalize them out of business. So you got to kind of, that's why, for you and I, we've been patients of concierge medicine for quite some time, because that's the only way you can really get to some of these guys who are tip of the spear in health and optimization.
Yeah. And it's I think a lot of people just don't give a shit,
That's true
about
too.
about their health, and but those that do, which, again, I'm not here to judge anybody, and there's a lot of my life where I didn't necessarily give a shit either, and until I did, and people got to come to their own conclusions with that. But it's really the difference between, the way I look at it, and this may not be true in all cases, but when I look at the modern day health and medical system, it's like, that's all after the fact. Okay, you're sick, now let's fix it. Where, concierge physicians, and, at least the way that I approach it is, okay, let me do everything I can to not get sick. Prime example is like when this whole COVID thing first started, nobody really knew what was going on, but there was enough data, and, reached out to some of the, physicians that we know, that I trust, and was like, all right, like, with this thing going on, what can I personally do that I can control to if I get it, to get through it, and hopefully if I get it, to not even know that I had it. And it was, I spoke with a few different doctors, and it was pretty much the same protocol. Eat clean, remove toxins, get some good sleep. And then it was, 20 milligrams of vitamin C per pound of body weight, 5 to 10,000 IUs of vitamin D3 a day, take zinc or ZMA, kind of it was, so then from there, I was like, okay, let me be proactive with this as much as I possibly can, because like, I can't control what the fuck's floating in the air, but I'm also not going to stop my life, and I want to be proactive with it. And to that, maybe I just got lucky, like, I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm freaking, Iron Man here, because I'm definitely not, because I do get sick, and I do, I have, I'm always working to level up and be better with this. But to my knowledge, I didn't get COVID or have any symptoms with it. When everybody in my office and everybody that I work with got it, and everybody in my family got it, and so forth, and I was quarantined with family that had it, and I either never got it or had symptoms of it. So I'm thinking maybe the protocol worked, but that's just an example of being proactive with this. And it's just like why I follow our last podcast that we did of, and why I follow your training routines of, like, look, okay, I know, like, okay, I'm 40 now. I'm going to be 41 in October. It's like this thing isn't, it's not getting younger, now I feel better and I look better at 40 than I did at 18. But I got to train in a more intentional way to make sure that I don't get injured, that I can continue this going on. I got to change things up and adapt. And, and the hard part about when you gain this knowledge, though, and or at least for me, I don't know if this happens for you, but is, that like close people to you, that like you kind of like, all right, like, here's what I recommend, and here's the route I recommend you to go, that won't do it. They just stick with that traditional model. It can be frustrating for me. I don't see how anybody can't, they'll go spend $80,000 on a truck or a car, but it's like they won't invest in the only true vehicle that we have to operate this life in.
Well, we hear that all the time, man. Like, how much you spend on groceries? Well, yeah, I don't eat out very much, and when I eat at home, it's good food. I mean, good food costs money, and if you're gonna, I don't know, now, you know, you can buy a pound of hamburger for, I don't know what, like $5 or something, $6 now, 7 maybe. But you know, the argument always was, oh, it's too healthy or it's too expensive to eat healthy, and it really isn't if you cook your food at home. You know, so you have those people that are resistant to that, but you know, there's always an excuse for those guys too. If it's not money, it's something else. Well, I don't have time, or you know, it's all the same. It's not finding time, or can't swing it somehow. But you know, for the people that do ask and do want to, you know, try to take advice or whatever, you know, the millions of people that walk up to you or me and ask diet advice or workout advice, you know, some of them take it with a grain of salt. Some of them consider it deeply, maybe incorporate it, try it out, and then some of them it's gone before it even, you know, it's just one ear out the other. But yeah, it's hard to watch that people that you care about, you know, that are stuck in a way of thinking that's more traditional, and it's hard to watch. You know,
Yeah.
you know, my parents, my dad who's still alive, and stepmom, you know, they're still stuck in kind of that old school thinking, and it's hard to get them out of that thinking. You know, I still remember, I think I told you the story, but you know, there was COVID going around their retirement home and stuff, and they were literally so scared they were writing their wills up and calling everybody and all this. And I'm like, or no, they tested positive for COVID, and they were just at home with a, you know, was with a runny nose or whatever, and they were convinced they were going to die. You know, I'm like, turn off the TV. You know, how do you feel? Well, it's not even like the flu. Okay, just relax. You know, you're going to fucking kill yourself. But yeah, you have to, I don't know, you have to get out of the way of traditional thinking. And I think you can't listen to mainstream anything for any advice, you know, especially health advice. And the more you read, it's almost harder to find true information on the internet than it is to find tainted information. And so it's hard, man. I get it. People don't understand. They get all mixed up reading stuff on the internet or listening to this guy or listening to that guy. You get all these crazy cockamamie ideas. And it's the same in the healthcare system, man. You talk to one person and that can ruin your whole thought process, and you're kind of tuned into this thing, you know. So it's important to vet and consider where you get information sources from. And just like we were talking before we started recording, you know, get a lot of different opinions from different people, you know, and consider all the different viewpoints as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Couldn't agree more, dude. And then what gets scary about it then is, okay, well, if this exists on kind of even like the littler things, which aren't littler things, it could be the biggest thing when it comes to, you know, just say diet and exercise, that the lack of knowledge is there in the modern day medical system. Well, where else is it lacking? You know, on okay, this pill that you're telling me to take, like, are you truly educated on it, how that is going to impact my body, the negative potential side effects of that, you know? And that, now luckily I've never had to be on, you know, prescriptive stuff like that. I mean, outside of TRT, that's the only thing that I've really ever had an ongoing prescription on. But you know, it does, you know, the more knowledge that I gain of this stuff, the more, you know, skeptical I am, if you will. And not skeptical, I'm not trying to be, well, skeptical is the right word. You know, I'm not trying to be you know, a complete cynic, you know, but seeking, you know, multiple pieces of advice and then making sure I'm educated. You know, like, I'm not going to just
Yeah.
blindly go take something that some potential stranger that, you know, may or may not have advice on, and maybe they're getting freaking kickbacks or you know, like, who knows how that all works, dude. You know, with that. So it is crazy, man. But I gotta say, dude, you know, since I've been going the concierge route, because I still have, you know, the kids and stuff, and I don't even know if
Yeah.
this is still like a legal thing, like if you have to have health insurance now still. I know that was a thing for, you know, I think under Obama or
God,
whatever.
good question. I don't know.
You know, I
Yeah.
mean, I still have it, you know, right,
Yeah.
for me and the family in case, I don't know, you get in a bad car wreck and something
Right.
dramatic happens. But yeah, I've it's been shit 7-8 years since I've been to a doctor, you know,
Yeah.
that kind of a doctor, you know,
Right. Right.
you know, with that. And yeah, concierge is definitely the route to go, dude.
Yeah. Well, you know, and you got to consider too, if you're seeing a concierge physician that's seeing, you know, athletic or, you know, people who perform, high performers, you know, that's their kind of practice. That's the world that they live in. Those are the type of people that they work on. When you go to a general practitioner and, you know, 80% of the people who walk through the door are semi-obese or, you know, borderline diabetic, you know, that's the practice. Those are the people that they work on. So when you come in and say, hey man, am I fat? Should I lose weight? No, you're great. Are you kidding me? You're my leanest patient. So, you got to have a little perspective too when you're going to a healthcare professional, what the practice of their patients look like and who they're treating. I mean, that has a lot to do with it too.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. So speaking of, tracking and paying attention to all this stuff, dude. So I got this new Garmin watch, and this stuff's pretty
We're
fascinating,
crazy.
dude. Yeah. I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's this Tactics Delta. I don't know, does more than I can even fathom of what it does. But, like in here, it's like, okay, every day I can sit there and see, okay, what my average resting heart rate is, what my low was, what my high was, what my average was. Shows me my different stress throughout the day, obviously the steps, floors, calories burnt from, resting and, from active, and some of this I got to manually plug in, like what type. Like I went mountain biking the other day and it knew I was mountain biking, but when I'm weight training, it doesn't necessarily know I'm weight training. So I got to plug, the time that I'm doing that. I mean, it's reading my heart rate and stress levels at that time. Pulse ox levels, dude. Like it's, when I'm sleeping, when I'm not sleeping, REMs, like all this crazy stuff. But it's fascinating, man. And I know I talk about this for the business aspect all the time, but what you track, what you measure, what you pay is what you pay attention to. But this thing, I just get a little, live time, constant readout of, where I'm at, where things are at. But
well, I think that's really, I mean, I think that's, I'm just interrupt you, but I think that's where we're going, is individualized devices like that monitor and take in all that data. And then what we're missing now, or what we're seeing in kind of the company I work for, we have an AI algorithm and an approach that we take all that data, plug it in, and then you get a personalized kind of whatever report on that. And I think it's coming to where you're going to have a watch like that, that tells you everything, monitors all kinds of shit, heart rate, all that, and that's plugged into some type of an algorithm, and your concierge or high-end physician is going to be able to take that data and go, oh, okay, hey man, that I'm going to plug in your genome testing that we did. I'm going to plug in this, I'm going to plug in that, and then have a personalized health prescription for you, that based on your genes, based on every piece of data. And that, someday soon, that's going to be very powerful. That's going to be, we're going to be able to really, if it's financially rewarded, they're going to be able to really, really dial down and have an individualized approach to medicine and whatever disease you have, and helping you, and based on your physiological genome background and everything. So it's gonna be pretty cool, man.
Yeah. No, I mean, I couldn't agree. I mean, it's not even I agree. I mean, I know that's where we're heading, and I'm just fascinated by, I'm in the software business, and but not that type of software, but I just love learning about tech, and dude, it's there's so much shit behind the scenes that are in the works that are already there. It's just, okay, or, is it time to release in the marketplace with the what do we do with this data? All of that, but it's 100% where we're going, and then hopefully, the incentives, I mean, there's going to get, for like dudes like you and I, we're going to probably use that to the extreme to optimize ourselves, like with this, like I'm already, okay, like I get a sleep score every single night, right? Well, then I'm like, okay, well, I was averaging like 5 hours and 27 minutes of sleep a night. So I'm like, okay, tell me I have poor sleep quality. Okay, I get it. I need to get 7 or 8 hours. Well, then one day I ended up getting like 9.5 hours, but then it told me I still had a poor sleep score, but then when I dive in there, it takes it even deeper. Like it knows, when my deep sleep was, when my awakeness was, or kind of restless, knows when my REM sleep was, the exact hour, exact time. Like it's tracking, like even through those different phases of what my breaths per minute is, my respiration rate, my heart rate, my, pulse ox rate, all of that stuff. But then now I can sit there and identify, so for me, the reason why I'm still getting these poor sleep scores, and dude, it's not that, it's just like, I'm not just going off this machine to tell me what I am or not. It's like, how do I feel? Well, I'm like, dude, I still don't feel rest after, I should feel rest after 9.5 hours of fucking sleep,
Yeah.
right? So then it's okay, well, now I'm able to identify, okay, it's the REM sleep problem. Okay, well then at least now I can go out there and do the due diligence of, okay, what do I need to do to, increase
How
REM
do I
sleep?
game
And
that? Yeah.
yeah. And at some
Yeah.
point, I'm sure that this will be able to tell me and even get deeper with that. But, and this is already here. It already exists. I've already heard stories of this where like a dude has, what do you call those, CPAP machines?
Hmm.
And, hooks up to an app, whatever. Well, he got a
Yeah.
call from his insurance company that, I can't remember if it was the insurance company or the manufacturer of the machine, but they were like, yeah, how's it going with the machine? We noticed you hadn't been using it lately. Right. So
Yeah.
that, the alternative though, the negative potential flip side of this is, and it's going this route. There's nothing that we can do to stop this unless there's
Yeah.
World War III happens, which may happen the way shit is, who knows? But it's like, unless something catastrophic, traffic happens that sets us way back from a time of just, industrialization and technology, but anyway, it's going to get to the point where all this data then is reported to your insurance companies is, so now not in too long from now, I mean, they'll be able to sit there and see, okay, what exactly are you buying? Like, what are you eating? What are you spending your money on?
Right.
What are you eating? What do you put in your body? How does this all impact this? Right? What's your workout? What's your activity? And then fluctuate, based on what your premiums, what you're probably
At the
paying.
at the cost of maybe some privacy, I'm okay. I would be okay with sharing my personalized data like that with my insurance carrier to get a better rate. And if they chose to, if you didn't have, decent biomarkers or whatever, if you're obese or whatever, you had to pay a different rate, a higher rate. I mean, I'd be okay with that. I
Yeah.
think to some,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I am, just because you give up privacy in one area, then
Yeah.
but then we're at the point where, what is privacy? I mean, do we have in your own home state, we got, Trump getting raided, first president or ex-president recorded, is like, like shit's changing so rapidly. We've already lost almost all. I mean, there's so many of rights, and
Yeah.
so that would be my only reservation of, it's you give up in this area over here they think is a good thing, well then they kind of rob another area,
Yeah.
and that would be my only. I'm kind of one of these, just leave me alone. I'll be a good law-abiding citizen, but just like leave me alone a little bit. Let me
Well,
do
we
my
could
thing.
even, we could just go old school and we'll do a body fat test, and you can charge me, whatever on my insurance based on that.
Yeah,
Something to skew the numbers a little bit more fairly. But yeah, man, it's interesting. There's a lot of that. My two dive partners have that Garmin watch, and we'll get out of the water or whatever, and they're like, "Oh yeah, man, I breathed 3 times less that time than the last time I was at 120 feet." And then I was like, "What?" And then, "Oh yeah, well, I slept better last night." They're going through all this shit. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
yeah,
It's almost it's overwhelming. The information that you get from that watch, it's pretty crazy.
yeah. If, at least for me, if you have like an obsessive addictive personality and you're
Yeah.
also competitive, it's
Yeah.
like, dude, I'm checking that app like 10 times a day.
Yeah.
I had to quit wearing my Fitbit, dude, because it was like, I started joining these like, I don't know, walking warrior step
Yeah.
competitions where like, I'm like, oh no, and I had to, so I'd be like doing like 40,000 steps a day, and like it was like hindering work or time with the family, but I
Yeah.
couldn't stop fucking, so I got to learn some self-control when it comes to that element. But yeah,
If we
I mean,
could just, if somebody would just now make a some kind of device where you just take a drop of blood and you can run all your lab markers off of that, that would be great.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What was that? There's a show about that now, right? What was that chick's
Yeah.
name?
Oh God, I can't think of it. Oh man, that was a great scam.
Yeah, is it
I can't think of her name.
Theranos or
Yeah,
something?
yeah,
Was
yeah.
the company
Theranos.
or
Yeah.
whatever? And yeah, craziness, dude. But so totally switching up topics here. But
Yeah.
with you being in Florida, dude, how is with the raid going down and all this craziness, dude? Is like is it what's the overall temperament like there?
I have no idea. I haven't, I saw that that happened, I know that we're getting ready to, sometime we're going to have a governor's, an election for the governor, and I'm pretty nervous about that.
Yeah.
Last time we almost got the crack hoe, that got in over DeSantis, but I don't know, man. I'm not sure. I don't know that it affects, on a state level. I don't know that it changed anything. That was a federal deal. So I haven't really heard too much about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just curious, cause like you saw like, last night, like, Liz Cheney,
Mm-hmm.
lost or whatever, and I don't know if that was an official or if that was just,
Yeah, it looks like she
report.
lost.
Yeah. I didn't see the official numbers on that, but it was like all these, residents of Wyoming were so pissed off at her because they felt like, they're big Trump fans. And I know that there's, a lot of Trump and DeSantis fans in Florida. So I didn't know if just like the energy of people,
Yeah, I don't, it's
if
kind of,
people even have awareness or pay attention to that shit.
I'm kind of isolated, I guess, but most of the people that I talk to or have lived here for a while or fleed here and actually realized that some of the other Democratic states that they ran from aren't doing so great. And I hope that people keep that in mind whenever we go to elect a new governor,
Yeah.
or either re-elect DeSantis or not. But you read some of the things, like I mistakenly opened up Twitter and looked at DeSantis information. There's all these people that twist. It's crazy the way that everybody's so polarized. But Florida was one of the massive states that everybody ran to escape everything else. And so I hope that people here that live here now don't vote it the same way that from where they ran from. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure,
It's always
man.
the hope, but if
Yeah,
history repeats itself, it's,
it's not good.
Arizona used to be a hardcore red state, not just all of it. I mean, most of Arizona is outside of Maricopa County, but outside of
Yeah.
Maricopa County, there's like, outside of Phoenix Metro, there really isn't anything in Arizona. And, but now, Maricopa County is turned blue, man. It's, we have, Phoenix mayor, is Democrat and got it all into the defunding the police, and, crime murder rates up out here, like, 30% year over year, and, an increase. And, like I used to go downtown Phoenix all the time, and no homeless people, dude, not none, but very little. Not like when I'd go to Seattle or LA or,
Yeah.
Other big cities. But then now, dude, like we have one of the worst, kind of tent cities in the United States, called the Zone. Like it's just like blocks and blocks and blocks of just home, block of businesses, and just down, that whole area's went to shit down there. And look, I'm not, I've got, many close friends of all different, political affiliations, and I'm really not a political dude by any means.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, hey, like this used to be this way, now it's this way. What is the difference? And being a guy that, I was born in California, raised in California, first 14 years of my life, have a lot of family still there. And it's like, every time I go back, it's just like, man, it just deteriorates. And, you go to like, I don't know, I was in Long Beach not too long ago, and for an event, I'm like, man, this used to be, and I could only fathom how amazing it was. I wasn't there in the 70s. I wasn't born in the 70s,
Yeah.
but I could only imagine how amazing that place used to be, 30, 40, 50 years ago. And then I'm like, now you can't even, this is a total exaggeration, but it's like, you can't even walk down the beach without like stepping on a syringe.
Well, I had a buddy that went to San Francisco had to go for a company meeting maybe a month ago, man. And it was insane, the description. And I don't know. I don't care what party you are, but I try to more look at the individual. But man, those heavy states like that, the major cities, it's I don't understand why anybody would want that. I just don't get it. And I think people get distracted by these little issues and then don't focus on the real thing. Like I'm not really sure what Roe v. Wade and all that, but I don't know if that's a federal thing or it should be really determined by the local level, if the Fed should be involved in that, or should be decided by a state, by state case. I'm not really sure, but that's important and all, but is that more important than us, giving away $18 trillion for fucking nothing? That's going to help any of us except for increase our tax bill. It just seems like they throw out something like that, and you get distracted about it, and then all this really big shit happens that really matters. Is really going to affect the whole country in the way that we're going to, what we're going to look like in 10 or 20 years. It's and people get distracted by those little things, and I think that's how the game is played right now.
Yeah, one always has been, dude. I mean, I don't follow politics in the way that most people do, like just because I don't see the point, right? But
there is no point.
It's how the game works is you get people focusing on this hand over here. It's a magic, it's a prestige, so they're not seeing what's going on in this hand over here. Then you create wedge issues, you pin people against each other, because if the masses, as long as the masses are fighting against each other, then the masses won't ever revolt against the minority that is in power. And that's just how it's been at least from the history I've studied, from the dawn of time. And at least we have very accurate recorded, history data for, at least for the last 2,000 years. And it's like every it's the same shit. We think things are different. We think things are different now. We're more civilized now. Human behavior is different now. We think that, modern technology, it's like, no, dude, like we're still operating in the same, hundreds of thousands of year old brains that haven't really changed that much. Like human behavior, nature's nature. It's just, the game might just, the overall game's the same. How they execute on it might be a little bit different, based on the times, but it's all the same shit, and it's just a crazy world, dude.
Yeah. So to answer your question, I don't know, man. I haven't heard anything on the street.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything. And I guess that I'm not, I'm not talking politics with people or whatever, but most of the people that I talk to are from here, and they kind of appreciate what we have. So I don't know, man. It could be scary, as we learned in COVID. The people who are running your county, your city, and your state are very important to your life and overall well-being and day-to-day activities in life.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was one of the, again, another blessing, just giving it a silver lining, because obviously the whole situation sucked. But I think one of the silver linings were, and I'll put myself very much so into this bucket, because I'd be lying if I said otherwise. Like I never paid attention to local politics by any means. Now like we just voted, and it was like, okay, I'm like doing research on the school district, like who's going to be head of this local school district that my kid, like I never gave two shits. I never paid attention to that. I should have, but I never did. But then, when with the COVID and a lot since then, it was like, okay, like I didn't realize the power, I guess, that, but now it became blatantly obvious, to I think most of the importance and the power in that. And dude, like your guys' governor, whether you like him or hate him, I mean, the dude's leading the way, man. He's showing that I guess the power of what a governor can do and the change that they can make. And, because it's so easy to feel powerless, in these modern times. And, I don't know if you saw on DeSantis just did like an hour-long podcast with Glenn Beck. And it was a badass podcast, dude. It's on YouTube, and I don't really even follow Glenn Beck, but I just saw it, like, because with this stuff, you don't, and again, I mean, I love long form, because it's like, you get somebody on CNN or you get them on Fox or whichever one it is. It's like, dude, you get these 2-minute, 3-minute talking points where it's like, let's go, give an hour, 90 minutes fully uninterrupted and find out like who this human being actually is, and it was the first time I've got to, outside of just little talking points or, hearing those, like it was the first time I got to see him for like a full hour uninterrupted, talking about his life, his past, his aspirations, what he's doing. It was really powerful, dude.
Yeah, I'd prefer to hear somebody talk for 2-3 hours with a person than these 2-3 minute answers, or these like debates, or those are a joke. But yeah, you get a better feel for somebody. And I'm in the same spot, man. We got elections coming up, so I've never been a guy that just go down, okay, everybody with an R, everybody with a D, that's who I vote for. And so it takes some work, and it's actually hard to find information on these people too. Like, okay, are they doing the things that, more things I agree with than less? And, it's work, I get it. I get why these people can squeeze through, and, they have one commercial and then they trick you, and trick you into thinking something. It's crazy, man.
Yeah. I wish there was a way, and I know for new people stepping into politics, this is an impossibility, But for those that have been in there for any length of time, if there was a way to show their entire voting history,
I was just going to say that.
right,
Yeah.
like of like what they voted on, and I know that a lot of these now, between the Senate and the House, it's like they don't actually have to vote, to actually push
they can
things
be
through.
absent.
Yeah, they can, whatever that bullshit is. I don't know the terminology. But
and that may exist, but yeah, I would love to be able to pull up a record and see everything that somebody either supported or didn't support, all the major points of their career, and almost like a like a proof of work that you could go, okay, I get a feel for what this guy's interested in, or this girl, what they're supporting. And that may exist, I don't know, but I haven't been able to see it.
Yeah.
That's how they get you, man. It's the hidden information,
Yeah, because to your point, dude, like I spent, I don't know, a good half a day, dude, in just research. Because I was like, dude, if I'm going to really, in the federal elections, it's easier, well, at least, because
it almost seems like you don't really have a vote, right? I mean,
well, not that you don't have a vote, but it's just speaking of the presidential debate, right? I mean, or the presidential election, because they do so many more debates. They do, and I don't know, they're more well known. It's easier to find information versus some, person that you never heard of that's on a local level. You never see, like, and then going out there, and you can go to their websites, but what are you going to get? Like, they're going to talk shit about themselves on their website, So it was like, but I was like, dude, like, I don't want to make a mistake here. And really, to be, again, first time in my life that I've taken it, because, dude, I mean, up until this last election between Biden and Trump, and it's not that, dude, like, not even that I was a big fan of Trump's. I'm becoming more of a fan of his now that I'm learning more about him and so forth. And not that, like, if I had a choice between DeSantis and Trump, I'd be DeSantis all day, but well, I guess I would still even need to learn more. Maybe I'll reserve that statement until I know even that much more. But it was, like I voted in that election, and I voted for Trump, not Biden, not because I love Trump. I just didn't believe that Biden was going to be. I'm like, dude, I can't even like, I wouldn't even let this guy walk my dog. Right?
It's
like,
always, I mean, it always seems to be a lesser of two evils. That's the problem.
Yeah. And again, you share that shit and then people get pissed at you. But I'm like, dude, like, I'm not trying to, hate on anybody through him, but like, I just didn't, I was like, dude, I don't see how this is a good dude, for us. Plus, and I have no room to talk because before that election, dude, like, I never voted, dude. I was just like, fuck, politics don't matter. The president has such little power and authority, and they get their little box to play within. I'm like, it doesn't matter, So I never even vote. So, like, for me to sit there and be like, Obama was a terrible president, which, knowing what I know now and doing my research and all the executive orders he put into place and so forth, I believe that he was a shit president. So I'm like, okay, well, Biden was, aligned with him, but anyway, with that, so then I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do this thing, then like, I gotta, be responsible with it and make sure that I know, do my due diligence and again, give a responsible vote, that I've went up and researched and studied and, but the scary part about that is how many people do that,
No, it's not very many.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. And again, I hate to block certain things or create more resistance for people that discourages the vote, but it's almost like there should be some type of a test of, like, something of, to be able to have the ability to go out there and cast your voice. Because otherwise, with it just a popularity contest, it gets kind of scary.
Well, a lot of the things that there was that meme going around with Clinton sitting at his desk, and it said something like, for those of you who are old enough, know that there's two people in this picture, meaning that Monica Lewinsky was also in the picture,
Oh, yeah.
and kind of a funny meme, and so I'm reading some of the comments on one of those, and not one person said, yeah, man, we should have, he lied to us. We should have got him for that. He got away with it. It was more like, well, your guy did this. Almost every, I stopped at like 5 minutes. I'm like, Jesus, this is incredible. It was every single response was, well, Trump did this. Well, Trump did that. Or your guy did this. Or, it's 100% polarizing. And it might be all trolls, troll farm. I don't know. But that's the way it is. That's the typical response is, well, your guy, it's the polarization. It's not like, hey, he was shit too. And if they broke the law, they should they should have gotten to the full extent of whatever they did. And yeah, Bill Clinton lied to us and he got away with it. Oh yeah, Trump, well, he did some shitty things too. And he failed in a lot of parts here that he could have done better. Biden, yeah, well, go down the list. It's not like it, people don't treat it on an individual basis. It's so polarized and teamed up. Well, he's on my team, so whatever. Your guy was worse. Instead of, we should fucking hold them accountable for what they did. It's insane, man. And that's how, that we're programmed, and that's the problem. You could say something about Nancy Pelosi and doesn't matter, this other person, yeah, but how is she the best investor of all time, or whatever it is. And it's never her fault. It shouldn't be that way. It should be, we should really take a look at how these people are getting information and how it's legal that they use it, in their position of power, instead of just being polarized. Well, she's on my team, so whatever. It's just interesting, man.
Yeah, because I mean, at least from my viewpoint, and again, I'm not new to knowing how political systems work or history, just because I've always found that to be fascinating. But I'm new to I guess becoming more educated on our not current political system, but players inside the system and so forth with that. But yeah, when you can't debate the topic, or topics because of the tribalism or so forth, or because the way that I look at it, it's like it's all fucking broken,
right?
I mean, to me, there's as many broken motherfuckers on the right as there is the left, and maybe
100%.
situations where there might be a little bit more on one side than the other, but it's like, okay, like the shit I'm seeing right now, with the current administration. Now you could sit there and blame, well, it's Democrats and Democrats are evil, and you hear a lot
it's
of that
whole system
out there.
It's all of them,
but it's like, okay, yeah, there is so many moves to more of a tyrannical system, which it's like, dude, we haven't been a republic for a long fucking time anyway, but it's, which I'm not saying is okay, but then it's like, well, then if you flip the roles, it was like, well, that was Bush. Look what Bush and Cheney did. It was like, So it's the rules can reverse so fast. With this, but to your point, it's so hard to have a conversation, about just, and it's with everything, dude. We talked about this before in this podcast, but when it comes to gender, it's like, or race or CRT, whatever. It's just like, okay, well, let's sit down, seek to understand, have a deep conversation about this, and just see if there's, a better way, or a way that can all agree upon to go out there and try to fix this thing. But yeah, everybody gets so pinned together. It reminds me of, when I was a kid growing up in Michigan, or at least, went to high school and a little bit of the college I attempted for like 18 months. But in Michigan, it was like, dude, like, I had a few friends that were like die hard University of Michigan fans. So it's like, dude, if they saw somebody wearing an Ohio State shirt, it was like they were ready to fight. And I would just look at it now. I'm a non, really sports fan and altogether. I mean, I didn't mind playing them, but not going to go try to fight somebody for not liking my team. But I'm like, dude, you don't even know that person. Like, it just seems so silly to me, but then now it's like, with the scary position we're at is that same thing is moved now to like just overall life. And it's scary, man. Like, when you hear, a couple of years ago when I hear, I don't know, people out there talking about, oh, the Civil War, I just dismiss it like fucking whatever, like that's not gonna happen. But then now it's like, shit, man, maybe the possibility is greater than I thought it could be. Who knows? But
well, they certainly do a good job of polarizing us, that's for sure.
Yeah. But what is cool about it though is, because I got myself into that a little bit, not the whole, allowing myself to, pick a side, if you will, or judge somebody, based on their views, always thought that was silly. But I caught myself during the whole COVID thing, and then all the riots and all that stuff going on of, okay, I'm binging, all this YouTube. Well, then, dude, the second they step out of the house, and then you're out there just living life, and the second we started actually going to events again, it was like, dude, all that shit that I saw in the news didn't exist, like in the real
Right.
world. Like people were amazing, people were kind, people were nice. Now I'm not saying it didn't exist somewhere, but it's like, it can be like this one little area. Like I had a buddy, or a guy that was at an event that I was at, or that I hosted, and we were talking after the event, and he's in Portland, and this is like during like all the riots in Portland. Just every time you turn on the news, like it was on fire. I'm like, dude, like, are you okay? Like, how's it going there? And he was like, look, yeah, I mean, it's intense down there. He goes, but dude, it's like, I don't know how many
2 blocks,
but he's like, it's so confined to this area, but then you get out of there, and then it's not like what you see.
It's 30 assholes in a 2-block area that, there's 15,000 cameras on them, right? And you're getting every angle, and yeah.
So
I know, man. Yeah.
Well, right on, man. Well, I know that we kind of shifted.
We're all over the place. Yeah.
But as always, man, awesome jamming with you.
Yes, sir.
And those watching, truly appreciate you guys being here, watching, listening. Keep up all the amazing work, and we'll talk to you next time. Peace.